Welcome to the Mormon Meat Locker. Here we
I'm
go.
Caroline Kingsley. This is Cable Jenkins with us. Or we're both hosts, and this is Steve with us here. He's a comedian, and sorry for the
Hello.
delay that we had a little bit of a technical issue.
Yeah, that was exciting. Uh, Technology's the best sometimes. But we're back, we're up and running. And so we decided now it's a version of Cribs
Yeah.
Yeah.
because this is running off of my phone. We can take you around. These are my plants. Who likes plants? All right. How does this normally start? I'm going to stop talking and let you guys lead the way.
All right,
Um,
so Steve, will you tell us a little bit about yourself? What is it that you do?
Oh, oh, okay. What I live in Salt Lake City and I'm a comedian. I started doing stand-up about 8 years ago. Um, and yeah, I quit my day job about 2 years ago, and now I do stand-up comedy, and then I do a lot of uh, hosting and MC stuff. I do corporate events. So my job is talking into a microphone in front of people. So I like do announcing with. I don't know why I have to use my hand for this. I do announcing with the Ragnar Relay series, and then yeah, I just do like corporate comedy shows. I just did a show down the street earlier today for some for American Express, and then I have shows like this weekend at a comedy club. So it'll be fun.
Tell us a little bit about the show that's going to be this weekend.
This weekend, I'm at we're in Salt Lake City, so I'm at the Wise Guys that's at the Gateway. So if you know where that is, it just went up last weekend. So we're on the southeast corner of the Gateway, where there used to be like an Italian restaurant. Now it's a Wise Guys Comedy Club. Super classy. I actually was there last night, and it is like I think in terms of comedy clubs, it's going to be one of the best comedy clubs in the nation. It sounds like I'm getting excessive, but it really is super nice.
Awesome. I'm going to definitely try to make it. It's this Friday, right? At
It's this Friday and Saturday, and so there's going to be four shows. So there's a 7:30 and a 9:30 show each night.
Awesome. Yeah, and I got a chance to watch Steve at a Heber campout. It was, I believe, which was nice. It was
Oh, that's right.
something
For the
extra
largest
over there.
ward in the church.
Sorry,
For the largest ward in the church, right? The Parley Seventh Ward.
Charlie. There's 800 people.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'd love to see you live again. I'm hoping to go this weekend. So how did you get started in comedy?
I started doing comedy. Let's see. I just went to an open mic. I wanted to try out stand up. I hope I don't go too long with this story because I know we're short on time. But we just were, some friends of mine and we were doing poetry slam stuff. Like, not official, but it was just like we were hanging out at people's houses and writing poems to each other. And I just ended up writing jokes. And they were like, "You're pretty good. You should try open mic." So I went to an open mic and just lucked out from there. There was a lot of like sort of happenstance things. I ended up meeting one of my good friends, Ryan Hamilton, when I went tracting, like door to door, to invite people to go to the open mic, where I would do comedy for my first time. And I, no joke, was inviting just every friend I knew. In person. I didn't want to send them a text. I wanted to physically go to their house and invite them. And I ended up running into Ryan Hamilton, who was visiting some of my friends, and they were like, "Hey, this guy is a stand-up comedian." Ever since then, he and I have remained really close friends, and he sort of has given me advice at all the critical turns when it's like, "Hey, what now? What now?" Because I really didn't anticipate this would ever be my full-time job. I had thought I would do medicine or something like that. Um, and anyways, yeah, I just did open mic. Ryan saw me and said he loved it, so he sort of helped me work it into becoming my daily my full-time job,
Cool.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So we thought it would be good to discuss, particularly with the field that you're in, what is it like to be an LDS comedian? What is it like out there where there's really so many comedians just, using, all sorts of language and, sex and whatnot
Sure.
for humor. So what is it like being in that industry?
I can answer. So this answer will just be for me, not necessarily for all LDS comedians. But there's not really too many LDS comedians. But I mean, it's unique because you do have to decide what type of comedian you're going to be, and a lot of LDS comedians I know do. Well, I guess there's only a few LDS comedians I know, and they're all clean, I personally work clean also just because that's who I am, and that's how. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear that. My computer's freaking out in the background. It's just started screaming at me, as if it wasn't enough troubles already, right? Anyways, what I wanted to say. When I first started doing comedy, I thought I would always just be a clean comedian. And for some reason, and I am, but for some reason when I was first writing jokes, my brain was like, write this joke. I was like, no, that's kind of dirty. I wouldn't want to talk like that. But it still was like, it would just go there. Which is weird because it's not where my brain traditionally would go. Anyways, I eventually just decided this is the type of jokes I'm going to do. I'm going to do jokes about, well, not even about what I was doing, my jokes. I guess I more so decided when I started writing a joke that I felt didn't fit the standard, that I would just stop pursuing that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Even if it was funny. And that there is the biggest temptation of all for LDS comedians. Because when you're a comedian, the laugh is what determines what stays in your set. A lot of people would think that as a comic you would inherently know what's funny. You'd be able to just go, yeah, this is funny, it's golden, it's going in the set. A lot of times what I think is funny, I can do it in front of an audience and they might not love it as much as I love it. And I'll still work it and try to get them to love it. If I can get them to love it, it stays in. But after 2 or 3 times, if I can't get them to love it, it's done. So, anyways, oh geez, I feel like my brain's a little scattered. But I was gonna say something else that related to.
Well, do you find that has it been limiting at all? Do you think?
No. If anything, it's helped me out a ton because if you work clean, then other work is going to be available to you. I'm gonna say this, but this sounds funny to say that I'm keeping this usually a secret, but yeah, other comedians, I don't tell them this that often. If you work clean, the amount of opportunity that's available to you is about, oh my gosh, 10 times more. From financially to just opportunity, it is your road expands exponentially because you can't do a gig for a company and go up there and tell dirty jokes. They would freak out. So if you can work clean, your opportunities expand very rapidly. But yeah, I think it's harder for a lot of comedians to work clean. They're just not used to doing that style of comedy. So.
Sure. Would you have any advice to people that are wanting to enter that industry in the LDS, people who are LDS?
Yeah, I was talking with a guy, Paul, just before we started this podcast, and he had mentioned, he's like, yeah, I'm an LDS comedian. I was like, let's talk more, because really there isn't that many LDS comedians. in the industry. Oh, I remembered what I was going to say a while ago. I'll get to it. Cable, cue me up with the laugh is the spirit. Because, but anyways, there's not a lot of comedians in the industry, so the advice to them I would say is keeping your standards. I guess it'll tie in here because a lot of LDS comedians or just comedians in general, the laugh is what they determine what is accurate and true, if that makes any sense. Like, I know guys that'll say things that I'm like, well, that's actually not true, but it gets a laugh. And I think because of that laugh, it's almost like the spirit to them. It's like verifying their joke. I don't know if that makes any sense, but for LDS comedians, I'm going to move this laptop because it's making noise. For
Any better.
yeah. Anyways, yeah. So for specifically LDS comedians, I guess the advice is just remember your roots and remember that just because it gets a laugh doesn't necessarily mean it's something you need to keep it in your set or that you need to even believe. A lot of people will make like jokes that are completely false, but they get a laugh. I mean, stereotypes and all that things, they're gonna get a laugh because it's sort of tasty to us and it's immediate. So the advice for LDS comedians is to remember. I mean, just set a standard for yourself. Go, okay, this is the type of jokes I'm going to write. This is the type of material I want to pursue, and then go from there. I use the same advice that was given by Seinfeld, where I don't remember what this was, but it was an interview with some other New York Jew guy who was in show business, and he was just like, so what would you say to new comedians? And he's like, just work. And then if you work clean, the money will be more than you would ever anticipate.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's, it can be used among any industry. But,
Right.
It's very interesting from your point of view because it is, because I think a lot of humor is known to be a lot more crass, within that field and whatnot. But you and I have both, been working on screenplays and whatnot, and so that's another industry that's very, not LDS, but
Totally.
you have to make those choices.
Yeah, and I think, some comedians, like if you listen to interviews or podcasts that, like Brian Regan, everybody loves him, does, where they go, what do you think about being a clean comedian? And oftentimes he and Jim Gaffigan, I've seen kind of shy away from it a little bit, where they're like, well, it's just who I am. I'm not necessarily a clean comedian. I tell what I think is funny. And I think that's totally accurate. A little bit in the industry of comedy and maybe in movies too, where they don't, like, saying you're a clean this or that can be taken as like, oh, I see, you're just trying to cash in on that a little bit. Because there's an audience that wants clean content really bad. And sometimes there's a degree of, like, it doesn't matter how good it is, it's just as long as it's clean,
Right.
And I don't want to fit into that category. My goals are to be funny first, and then also make sure it's a show that my mom could come to, and that she'd be happy with the way the show is. But so I think that maybe is why those guys shy away from that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Steve, I actually read an article one time by Brian Regan where talking about, so they were asking him about that specifically being clean, and he was talking about he just wanted to do shows that he could take his kids to. Like sometimes when he goes on tours, his family goes with him, and he just wanted his kids to be able to go to his shows and not to worry about, what jokes he's doing or things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately my goal as well. is to just be able to be clean and just enjoy it for everybody, you know, because I hate the idea that it's very scary right there. You're about to be murdered, by the way, just in case you didn't know.
In front of a live studio audience.
What is that?
It's just, we have a clown that lives in our basement.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Is this Caroline's house or your house?
my house.
Your house.
It's normal. Doesn't everyone have a clown in their basement?
No, clowns are so freaking scary. It's the scariest thing. A big spider would have been less scary. They're very unsafe. I think they have. So I don't know. I don't know if you saw. I did a thing for the Utah State Fair. They asked to. So I do their. I don't know, whatever. I do some advertising for them, and they had a clown section. It didn't make it into the final cut because I was like, no way, I'm not gonna do any commercials with a clown. It's so scary. That'll discourage kids from coming to the fair. Like, here's a clown, kids! Ah!
Totally off topic. There is this clown hotel in, I think it's in Nevada, near Vegas or something, where it's all clown themed, and apparently there's a haunted room or two.
Oh my gosh!
I saw that on Facebook.
I kind of want to go. I want to take a group of people go and dress as clowns.
You stay the night there. It's a hotel. Oh boy.
Anyway.
It's not safe.
As you were saying.
Where were we? Clean comedy.
Where were we?
And I think that I think a lot of people would maybe be turned off just by thinking like, oh, clean means lame, you know, like it's just
right
down. But like you said, it's who you are. It's not like you're trying or necessarily clean, but it's who you are, and and you're hilarious, and so it works.
As long as and I think that's honestly what is super powerful in good comedy is where you have that like real connection with the comedian. When the comedian's talking and you feel like this is exactly how I think and feel and stuff like that, or not necessarily exactly how you think and feel, but you go, I've been there. Of course, then the punchline might come and it's completely unexpected. That's the goal, is to sort of catch them off guard with the punchlines. But yeah, I love when people feel like they can put themselves into your shoes, into your story, or whatever situation you're talking about in your stand-up.
Well, and I think it takes a stronger comedian, a better comedian, in my opinion, to be able to make people laugh without having to resort to just throwing out, crass jokes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't get away. I have to be careful because so many in this industry. It is interesting because I make friends with everybody, and some of them are going to be super crass, and so I gotta go. Yeah, whatever. If you get a good laugh, I have to say I appreciate what is unique and original. Because I'm still friends with those guys who are telling the jokes that are inappropriate and stuff like that. That's maybe the interesting part of the industry for an LDS guy, is that you're hanging out and you're making friends with guys who are making different jokes. But what's so great is if you respect yourself and stick to what you're doing, they totally respect that back. And that, I think, like how you're saying, Caroline, how that could apply to any industry. And I know that that's something that LDS people have to deal with all the time. As I was starting to work more corporate events, I was talking to one of my buddies who that's all he does is do just corporate shows. He doesn't do club shows or theater shows or anything like that. He just does corporate events. And we were talking, and I was like, dude, I kind of hate doing the road as a comedian. It's like, it's tough, it's weird, you get offered drinks all the time, you have, just to be completely frank, you have girls that you're just not interested in at all, and they're like, oh, we should sleep together, and you're like, no, it's just not going to happen. and he said, you think that's tough in the bar world. He goes, try it when you're doing corporate events. Corporate people are just as bad, and and not to. He's like, and it's different. He goes, he's married. He's like, my wife is always my wife, and it's never ever going to change because I'm faithful to my wife. So that's the thing. But he's just like, yeah, it's crazy. I wouldn't have anticipated that was part of this career would be saying no to these types of things. I don't know why I got on that topic. I kind of want to change the subject, but at the same time, I think it is a huge thing that people probably, no matter what area of, what's the word here? No matter what industry they're working in, you still got to have your standards and stick to them.
That's true. Steve, what do you have some goals, or are there different things within comedy that you are hoping to accomplish that you haven't really got to?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get a late night TV spot. It's a goal to be on to a late night TV spot in the next 2 to 3 years. But earlier, like before, there's some goals that I've met, like where I was like, okay, my goal in comedy is, I feel like I'll have made it when, I don't know why I'm air quoting so much. I think it's because I can see myself in the corner. I never air quote in real life. Suddenly I'm air quote maniac.
But air guitar in real life?
Perfect. I never I do air guitar in real life, but yeah, never air quotes.
We'll have to be on our podcast. We'll bring you on as our air guitarist.
Yeah, I'm really good. I thought that I would have made it when I could pay for my life. Like when I was like, okay, I can meet my rent, I can meet my, all the other needs to just pay for. Then I'll have made it as a comedian. So I'm doing that now, and don't even feel like I'm scratched the surface of making it. It's like, okay, there's so much more to do. So I'd love to, to get a little bit more out there, because I do believe that the country really does crave a clean comedian. So I'd love to get a little bit more exposure from that aspect, to be able to have people recognize who I am, and to be able to go, yeah, Steve Solberg's a clean comedian. I'm gonna start going to his shows, stuff like that.
Well, we're drawing down on our time. Cable, have there been any questions? Do people know how to post questions?
I think I've put it out there a few times, but
okay, we're probably good that way then.
I think our little time delay start maybe mess us up a little bit, but
well, that's great. So thanks for coming on, Steve. We really appreciate it. So 4 shows this weekend, 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday.
Yeah. My phone told me I needed to plug it in. 7:30, 9:30 Friday, Saturday. You can get tickets at wiseguyscomedy.com.
Okay.
We
also we'll post a link to that in our group. So if anybody is interested and wants to go, there will be a link in the Mormon Meat Locker group on Facebook of where you can go to get tickets for this weekend.
Awesome. That's rad.
Right. Thank you so much for being on with us.
I realized we weren't very funny. Oh shoot, I'm talking over you. I'm gonna stop.
Well, anyway, go. Your turn.
My turn. Okay. Well, I just realized I wasn't super funny on this. We were just talking, but it'll be funny. The shows will be good. I like to make people laugh a lot, so.
And he does a great job. I've seen him live, and it's really good.
It's the real deal. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for
good advertisement.
Bye. Thanks for everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.